Good morning. Happy Thursday. Good to see you guys. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. I'm your host, Chump Change. This is live recorded, and I'm on daddy duty. So I got two kids behind me. Things might come unhinged, and I apologize prior to that happening. But anyways, let's get into this. So Bitcoin holding 34,000, which is pretty amazing. We have Sam Bankman-Fried going to testify, and apparently a 75% increase could happen when this spot Bitcoin ETF is approved. So it's kind of interesting. Some good news today. Let's see who's in the chat, and then we will go from there. Let's see. Mr. Chris Hanley, Andrew Masad, Kinjo, good to see you, buddy. Leo Lustig, my man. Let's see. Patty Whack Miner. Let's scroll through this. Crypto KJ. Man, that video yesterday was disappointing. And you know what? They didn't change that on mine, the ASIC. I just looked 2 seconds ago, and I can't believe the L7 profitability is still stated as like 20 bucks a day. We'll get into that in a minute too. Anyways, Rob Mines, good to see you as the pirate. Let's go through. Tim I Am Crypto, my man. All set. Steven Cicero, Sadie Sometimes, Little Time Mining, good to see you. Ovalboard Tech, Tains, and Neomorphous. All right, let's get into this. Let's do it. Let's see what we're looking like today over here. Again, Bitcoin 34,217. We have Ethereum 1817, not too bad. ADA's at 29 cents. Let's see. Shiba's had a pump, huh? Oh, didn't mean to click on that. Why did I do that? Let me blow this up a little bit. Let's get rid of this ad. Shiba, look at that, 8.45%. Nice. AVAX up 6.28. Solana's at 32 bucks still, but it's down 3.68%. Dogecoin, what? 7.5 cents. Hell yeah. Friggin' this thing needs to rocket. Let's get it. That's amazing. I have a stupid bag of Doge that's just chilling, waiting for it to hit $1 again. All right, let's look over here, or close to $1 rather. All right, let's get over to crypto bubbles. It's on the week. We have PP coin up 90.5%. Hex is up 136. Geez, everything is green. This is crazy. Let's check the biggest on the day. Dogecoin again at 13.2. I'm gonna have to check Twitter, see if like Elon did something foolish again. He's pumping Doge. What's going on with that? Gala 25.2%. GRT 9.6% up. Pepe or PP, whatever the hell you want to call it, is 14.7% on the day. We have Terra Luna. I still don't understand how Terra Classic is around, but 6.3%. Again, same thing with FDT, 13.1 on the news as SBF. I don't know, whatever. Anyways, let's check out the Fear and Greed Index, see what we're looking like there. 71 greed. You know, when we start seeing this pretty long, it gets to a point where, yeah, maybe time to take some profits and wait for the pullback. That's just me. All right, so top 10 coins by CoinMarketCap. By the way, what do you guys think of this? Like the mug? Oh, there we go. What do you think? The Daily Grind finally came in. I actually made the logos a bit bigger, and I'm kind of upset that I didn't wait until to order them until they came in a bit bigger. But I'll put I'm not working. Oh, I'm not wrong. Sorry, I thought you said I'm not working. I was like, what? Oh, my camera is glitching out. This thing was glitching out just before I went live too, so we'll see. All right, top 10 coins by CoinMarketCap on CoinGecko. We have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, BNB, XRP, USDC, Lado Stakes, Ether, Solana, Dogecoin, and Cardano. Those two flipped. Let's see. Litecoin's in 17th, Shiba still in 19th, and Bitcoin Cash is in the middle. All right, again. All right, we need to talk about this. So this is ASIC Miner. Sorry, Mine the ASIC. I always say that wrong. MineTheASIC.com. Again, we are a crypto mining channel, so I want to kind of go over and time capsule all this. So we have the new Wind Miner K9. I don't know if you guys have seen this. I don't know. It's a new company, I think. 10.3 terahashes, 3,300 watts for Caspa, right? It's a Caspa mining ASIC, $130 a day. But if I'm not mistaken, they wanted like 45 grand for it or something crazy. Absolutely absurd. We have the KS3 9.4 terahash, making 117 bucks a day. The Ice River KS3, which is 8 terahashes, just under $100 a day, 99.61. And as you can see, this is wrong. This is wrong. I made a video yesterday, okay? I was stunned to see that I could make $20 or $15 after my disgusting electric rate. If we go to 25 cents, it was still, let's see. Yep, it'll adjust. There we go. Look at that. It was telling me I was gonna make $15 a day, rather $15 a day at 25 cents per kilowatt hour on this Verge coin. And then come to find out, Verge coin is 100% mined out. It is gone. They have hit their maximum supply. So that is false. If you mine this, it'll just be a 0 block reward, and that's it. So unfortunately, that kind of got a lot of people's hopes up, but yeah, nothing we can do about that. All right, let me get this back down to 10 cents, and then we will continue and look at the rest of this, and then we'll get into today's news. All right, let's check. So the X16Q over here, $4.59 a day. I'm just checking out the miners I really have, to be honest. The KS0. Oh, this is KS0 Pro, by the way. This just came out, $2.44 a day. Weird, they labeled them differently, and they're the same exact machine. That's a mess up there. Someone's messing up over at Mine the ASIC, man. They need to get their shit together. We have the X4Q, $1.63. You know what? Maybe I'll send them an email after this and tell them they need to adjust this. So the X41U is 68 cents a day, and this is all at 10 cents per kilowatt hour. So, all right, let's get into this. CNBC's Crypto World. Sam Bankman-Fried will take the stand at his fraud trial. Let's see what they have to say about this. I don't think I'm going to listen to the end of this just because, yeah, I don't think it matters about someone's opinion, but let's get into the latest news of the day. If you guys have any questions, at me in the chat.
Today, Bitcoin's back in the green as ETF excitement continues to build. Galaxy Digital says those potential ETFs could bring billions in new investments into Bitcoin. And Liz Lopatto of The Verge reacts to the news that Sam Bankman-Fried will testify at his trial.
Ooh, Mr. Leo Lustig real quick in the chat said, hey, mine won't be here until Monday. He got his Caspa hoodie yesterday. The hoodies are great quality, dude. That's awesome. I can't wait to get mine. It's coming today.
Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Tanea McKeel. It's another day of gains for digital currencies, with Bitcoin getting a nice boost of about 3% by noon Eastern and maintaining the $34,000 mark. Meanwhile, Ether rose 1.5% and crossed $1,800, and Solana still outperforming, jumping 8% to above $33. Let's get to the latest headlines.
You guys see that? She's got an infinity stone right here on her hand.
New research from Galaxy Digital says spot Bitcoin ETFs could drive a surge of new inflows into Bitcoin. Galaxy says the industry could see $14.4 billion in inflows during the first year of trading. That would be driven by advisors opening half of their assets under management to allow access in 1 year, while broker-dealers and banks could allocate 25%. The note also predicts that spot ETFs can draw over $26 billion by the second year and nearly $39 billion by year 3. Of course, the growing excitement among investors for these potential spot ETFs have driven huge gains in Bitcoin's price in recent days. Next, bankrupt crypto lender Genesis says a New York civil fraud suit could shift its bankruptcy plans. Reuters reports that Genesis wants to propose a no-deal bankruptcy plan, which would let it distribute its crypto assets to customers and still let it keep litigation claims against parent company Digital Currency Group and others. This lawsuit from New York State AG Letitia James alleges that Genesis, DCG, and partner company Gemini defrauded customers in a billion-dollar scheme. If that lawsuit goes through, all three companies would be banned from the financial industry in New York.
Womp womp.
All right, let's talk about the SBF trial for our main story. Trial has been on hold for a week, and the defense is set to kick off witness testimony this week. And we just found out today that Sam Bankman-Fried himself is among those witnesses. Now, there's a lot that's happened in the trial so far, so Crypto World's Jordan Smith spoke to Liz Lopatto, senior reporter at The Verge. She's been in the courtroom each day and shares her reaction to the trial so far and to the news that SBF will take the stand.
I don't think this is too important to watch, but
thank you so
this lady's hair is a goddamn mess. That's all I know. All right, we're going to move on to Sam Bankman-Fried set to testify at fraud trial in what experts deem a major gamble for the case. This is just like a 1-minute clip. I don't really think it's too important to listen to the Verge lady's personal opinion on the matter. So let's continue.
CNBC's Mackenzie Sigalos has been covering the trial closely and joining us now. It seems like, Mac, and I know you're not an attorney, but I'm sure you're talking to them, that this could be a bit of a risky move.
Yeah, Sam Bankman-Fried taking the stand is widely considered to be a major gamble for the defense. It gives him the chance to put his own narrative out there on what led to the implosion of his crypto empire, try to counter some of those accusations of fraud and money laundering. But it also offers federal prosecutors a chance to cross-examine him. And the government has a very strong case here. In the last 3 weeks of trial, we've heard from multiple members of the C-suite at FTX and Alameda Research, people who were also, up until very recently, Sam's closest confidants. And they're not just pointing the finger of blame at Sam, they're also pleading guilty to multiple charges themselves. plus which there's a plethora of written evidence to back up what they are saying. Things like signal chats and internal documents that appear to show that Sam was the one behind the scenes really orchestrating the spending of FTX customer money. I did speak to a former federal prosecutor and trial attorney who makes the point that given how solid the prosecution's case is, Sam actually didn't even have much of a choice here. The defense, according to him, is losing badly, so a coherent explanation from Sam might actually help him with the jury. But ultimately, it is a risky decision, and the entire case is coming down to his testimony. And if a jury doesn't believe him, he's done, Brian. That's what I'm hearing, at least.
He's effed. He's going to be in jail for the rest of his life. All right, this continues on a separate video. For whatever reason, they cut it in half, so.
All right, let's bring in somebody who worked closely with Sam Bankman-Fried, Anthony Scaramucci, also the founder of Skybridge Capital, and I should note, a graduate of Harvard Law School. So, I mean, if you were Bankman-Fried's attorney, I know suspend reality, Anthony, but knowing him as well as you do, would you put him on the stand?
Well, first off, the only thing I learned in law school was don't be a lawyer, Brian.
It makes two of us, my man.
Yeah, so thank God I'm not his attorney. But, you know, people of my vintage that grew up in the Northeast remember Action Park, and there was a documentary called Class Action Park. But Sam is about to go down the Alpine slide at Action Park without a break, and so he's going to get skinned alive. There's no way to escape. He's going to think he's going to outfox the prosecutors, but they're very, very well experienced with this stuff. And they're going to point out all the contradictions, and they're going to prove the criminal intent with him on the stand. So this is only going to add years to his sentence. But the good news for all of us, though, is that this Sam Bankman-Fried nightmare will end in the next couple of weeks. And then the industry, hopefully you'll invite me on to combat the
conspiracy to commit wire fraud on customers of FTX. That's count one. Count two is wire fraud on customers of FTX. Isn't that the same thing? No. Count three, conspiracy to commit wire fraud on lenders to Alameda Research.
Information that's in the
count
industry.
Four, wire fraud
you know, people
on lenders to Alameda Research. Count five, conspiracy to commit fraud on customers with purchase and sale of derivatives.
Senator Elizabeth Warren are going after the
Count six, conspiracy to commit securities fraud on investors in FTX.
industry, saying that crypto and Bitcoin is
Conspiracy to commit money laundering. That's the worst one. Number seven.
being used for Hamas, which is clearly not true. And you've got guys like Mike Morrell that have proven that Bitcoin is probably one of the most transparent things in the world. And so what's happening now is Sam is causing these problems for the industry, and hopefully that will abate. But this is a way longer sentence for Sam as a result of this strategy.
Well,
so I wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, why is he going on? Let's dive a little more into that. And again, you know him. You've met him many times, okay? I'm reading a book about him, and I'm about a third of the way through. Again, excellent book. And the one takeaway that I've got, and if
excellent book. Did anybody read that? I didn't read it, but CoffeeZilla said he read it, and he said the guy's completely delusional as to what he thinks SBF was, like an actual business and not a Ponzi scheme.
This is wrong. Say it. But the one takeaway that I've got is that we're watching him now on screen. He's kind of this frumpy dude with the cargo shorts, and he wears the same shirt every day. And like, I'm kind of this just quiet genius. What I've gotten from Lewis's book is that he is arrogant, that he believed he was or is smarter than pretty much everybody else in the room all the time. And if that is the case, it might explain why maybe he's pushing himself to go on the stand.
So it's interesting. So, you know, I've read the whole book. I don't want to blow the back of the book if you're only a third of the way through it. But here's the thing I would say to you. I don't think Michael thought he was arrogant when you're showing those pictures of me and Sam at Crypto Bahamas. And I met with Michael there. I don't think he thought Sam was arrogant then. You see, what's happening now is there's a whole revision of history on Sam. If we go back a year ago, this was a congenial nerd who was going to give all of his money away through effective altruism. What we learned from his co-conspirators is that there was mendacity underneath all of that, and what we learned is there was malevolence. And so what I don't understand about Michael Lewis, I'd love to ask him this question, because when you get to the end of the book, if you get Michael on, just ask him, hey, you know, explain how 4 other people have pleaded guilty, and you're sitting here uncertain whether or not Sam is guilty or not. You know, he tries to be objective in the book, but only sort of, because at the end of the day, Michael would have never written the book if he thought Sam was the supreme felon that many of us feel. So we're all sitting here perplexed by Sam, and I hear the arrogance today, but I didn't feel that arrogance a year ago. And I'm telling you, I took him to some of the heads of state. I'm obviously embarrassed by that I did that, because I didn't see the malevolence of Sam. What I saw was a smart guy who was well-intended. Now, we can rewrite history and pretend we of course, everybody saw it. And I said this to you on the last time I was on your show. Some woman told me, I knew he was a fraud. I said, but you had an account there. If you knew he was a fraud, why would you have an account there? And the answer is, well, obviously you didn't know he was a fraud. And of course, we're going to revise history, and everyone's going to pretend now that they knew. And I get text messages from people, oh, of course I knew. Nobody knew. He was on the cover of Forbes and Fortune for a reason. Yeah. He was the good fraudster, Brian. And so he's going to get nailed here going on the stand. It's a very bad move for him. Going to trial was a very bad move for him, by the way. I'm surprised his parents let him do that.
Well, I think, and we're going to let you go, but I think for the book, and again, it wasn't like a cocky arrogance. It's kind of, maybe I described it wrong, like I'm better than everybody else in the room, but it was more like that quiet, I can solve all the problems. Other people can't do it. I can do this. They can't do it.
He may have thought he was smarter than guys like you and me. Yeah. And sometimes when when you're that smart, though, it's not good. You go over the line and you do nefarious things. He thought he was going to take that money, and he was so smart he was going to outtrade the market and put the money back and end up as a half a trillionaire. It never works like that. Rule number one, don't steal anybody's money. Rule number two, go back to rule number one.
Yep, pretty much. All right, I told you guys it was going to come unhinged. I knew my son was going to come sit with me, but at least he's not screaming, so that's a plus. All right, let's get into this is Anthony Pompliano. So he actually goes on CNBC television and talks about the Bitcoin ETF and the 75% gains that could possibly come into the Bitcoin market. Real quick, before we get into that, though, Mr. Chris Hanley, congrats on the 10-year wedding anniversary. That is insane. He said today, getting rid of the kiddos for 4 days. First time in 3 years we'll be alone. By the way, Chris Hanley has triplets, and that is not going to be easy, dude. I literally, so like when I used to leave my dogs with somebody else for like a week, I'd like feel terrible about it. I've never left my kids alone for like without me for like days at a time. So man, that's going to be a rough couple days, but go enjoy it as well as you can. The kids will be fine. You know what I mean? But congrats, dude. 10 years. That's an accomplishment for sure. It's crazy because people don't stay together that long anymore, which is a shame, but it is what it is. So hopefully I'll be there at some point. All right, let's get into this. Again, Anthony Pomp talking about the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF coming in 75% gains for Bitcoin. Let's do it.
Bitcoin is up again this morning. Actually, it's been adding to its gains, up almost $600 earlier this week. It crossed 35,000 for the first time since 2022. It's doubled for the year. Optimism is surrounding the possible eventual approval of spot Bitcoin ETFs. That has something to do with the surge. Obviously, joining us now, Anthony Pompliano, founder of Pomp Investments, to try to sort out anything related here. There was, I guess, some ETF news, although you would argue it was to be expected. So BlackRock yesterday or the day before got a CUSIP number that we knew they would have to do that, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, to understand really where Bitcoin is right now, you got to go back to 2018, 2019. Bitcoin had been up to 20,000 in the bull market. It drew all the way down to $3,000. What happened there, and Stanley Druckenmiller said it was the thing that convinced him to go buy Bitcoin, is that none of the Bitcoiners really sold. About 80% of the people who owned it at 20,000 still owned it
still
at 3,000.
56% long term right now. So there's no supply for it either.
It's highly illiquid. 76% hasn't been sold in the last year. 56% hasn't been sold in the last 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
And really what we saw, what drove Bitcoin's price from that $3,000 bottom to $69,000, I mean, 23x in about 3 years, is that there was a supply and a demand shock. And we had printing of money, low interest rates, and we also got the halving. We look like we're headed right back to that. Right now, we do have high interest rates, and they're trying not to print money. But we have a $33.5 trillion debt. They're trying to fund 2 proxy wars. We have the southern border issue. We've got all sorts of inflation they're still trying to combat. And so what's likely to happen here is that they're going to have to return to loose monetary policy. When they do that, it is likely to coincide with the Bitcoin halving.
But near term, just talking about the ETF, you've got nothing has happened in the last 3 weeks to indicate it's any closer?
Well, I definitely think that it's closer, right? I mean,
well, because 3 weeks went by.
Well, 3 weeks went by, but also BlackRock is now going and they're seeding the fund.
They're seeding the fund in October, which is new.
Correct. And so they just amended the application. And so really what you're just seeing is they're getting prepared for the approval. The big question is, are they going to just...
Do they know anything? They may know nothing either.
They may know nothing, but I don't think that BlackRock is going to go through all this effort, right? Remember, there's reputation risk here in terms of people know what they're doing. And so it's much more likely that it's going to get approved.
You need a different change on who's in charge? I mean, you've got 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans, right? Is that... We had one of the Republicans on that, and she said... I have no idea why. It makes no sense. It hasn't been approved yet, but that doesn't mean that she's going to convince her colleagues.
At the end of the day, Bitcoin doesn't care about the politics of it all, right? Now, the SEC and other organizations definitely care. Well, here's the thing is Bitcoin is just highly, highly disciplined, right? It is the most disciplined central bank in the world. It doesn't care what's going on in the news. It doesn't care about geopolitics. It just produces block after block.
But the price of Bitcoin does. The price of Bitcoin cares very much about what happens.
Bitcoin's up 100% to start this year, right? And I don't think a lot of people kind of recognize that because they remember it was at 69,000. It drew down to 15, but it's up 100% to start the year. And so when you look at that, the market is obviously telling us something. And
what else is up 100% to start the year? Like, it's crazy. From 15,000 to where it's at now, it's up over 100%. It's crazy.
We're watching as capital is flowing.
Someone's calling it a flight to quality.
You've not seen someone, like
Larry Fink,
right? Larry Fink
versus bonds. Let me see if I have this right. Can the government issue more than 21 million bonds?
The government can issue as much as they want.
Right, but how many Bitcoin?
One of the most important,
21 million.
One of the most important details or kind of data points that I saw recently that really kind of opened my eyes was TLT from the high in 2020, 2021 is down about the same that Bitcoin is. And so where bonds used to be this flight to safety, now all of a sudden you're seeing people around the world say, look, some people are still buying bonds for sure, but there are some other people who are buying Bitcoin. And given that Bitcoin is the finite asset, I think that's ultimately where you get price appreciation.
Well, Anthony, the only thing I was going to say is that what Washington does is very, very important. If it weren't, there wouldn't be so many Bitcoin enthusiasts trying to do so much to spend money there and try and influence. If you look at Sam Bankman-Fried or anybody down the line, what Washington decides does matter. And I would think that having them decide something would be helpful. Like just getting rules of the road would probably...
So I think that the companies that deal with Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, they care what Washington is doing, right? They're the ones who are spending the money. They're the ones who are doing this. Bitcoin is a decentralized protocol. Bitcoin's not spending any money. Bitcoin doesn't even have a team behind it. And so I think that the companies very much care, and they are lobbying, and they are trying to get these clarity of rules and try to push this forward. But Bitcoin itself, if the government tomorrow came out and banned Bitcoin, everyone else around the world would say, okay. And they probably would actually go buy it because all of a sudden they would say, hey, this is outside the system. This is something that isn't controlled by any government. It isn't controlled by any individual. And so it's this very interesting thing where decentralization of the protocol really matters. But the companies, they're still centralized companies with American citizens running them, and they definitely care what is going on in Washington.
So you think when above the old highs, when and how much higher above the old highs?
Hundreds of % appreciation when we get to these bull markets has been the norm. I don't see that changing now.
And then back to where?
I mean, look, there's a cycle, right? It's very much.
I mean, it's a hideous, frightening cycle that just shakes you to the core when Bitcoin comes back down. It went to 17 from 65, right? 69.
People have been on this show for years now talking about all the stocks that went up a lot, they went down a lot, and over a long period of time, they were great investments. You can just kind of hold through all the volatility. Yeah. I think Bitcoin is really just the true free market asset, right? There is no, circuit breakers. There is nobody bailing it out. When we saw FTX and other companies go under, the government didn't rush in to bail them out. They bailed out the banks. And so I think that there is this element of a free market asset is going to have way more volatility than something that's inside of the system.
You know, it's a little weird this time, man.
Real quick, huge shout out to Crypto Frank in the chat. Thank you so much for that. 1999 super chat. He said BTC to 40K by Monday. I have bought Bitcoin every day for 4 years. I consider it a monthly bill. This has luckily worked out. DCA is the way. Dude, I agree, actually. I highly agree. DCA is probably the best thing you could do when it comes to Bitcoin. 20 bucks a week, whatever you can afford, something small that's not too crazy, not going to break the bank, but you spend that on coffee and donuts at the friggin', the shop on Saturday morning, Sunday morning, whatever. take it and put it into Bitcoin instead. You probably thank me in like 10 years, you know?
Is that you wouldn't say that there's been risk on in tech
Not
over
financial advice.
That the right-hand side of that. This has not been a risk-on environment from 25 to 34. It's gone up 40% in a risk-off environment. So that almost looks like it's not correlated now. And that's where the Fink got the flight that it's money, to call Bitcoin quality is, in a lot of people's mind, that's anathema. Charlie Munger thinks it's rat shih tzu.
One of the things people have to remember is the best investors in the world act completely differently than the herd. And so right now the herd is saying we're risk off. Every great investor I know is going risk on. They're buying these assets at suppressed prices because they know what's going to happen. We're going to return to loose monetary policy and prices are going to go back up.
Are we though? Higher for longer. Higher for longer. Higher for longer.
You eventually run into math, and ultimately you have a $33.5 trillion debt. You added $500 billion in the last month. We're sending hundreds of billions of dollars around for these proxy wars. If you're going to continue to raise the national debt, you're going to have to inflate it away. And so loose monetary policy is going to be the standard over the coming decades.
Let's go back to this idea of, and we've talked about it on the broadcast a lot, this sort of buy the rumor, sell the news situation, which is, if in fact this ETF exists, there's a big announcement, is that a great day for Bitcoin, or is that baked into the price and you needed to have gotten there beforehand and actually goes?
Listen, why is he even asking this question? You know it's not baked into the price. Have you seen the last week? Have you seen the last week? Is this guy under a rock? What's happening?
Down afterwards.
I think it's a great point. The halvings historically have been this like buy the rumor, sell the news events. The ETF probably is going to be something like that, where if you saw this fake news, I guess it was, where the ETF got approved, but it really wasn't approved. Right. Basically, price went up thousands of dollars in a few minutes, then drew right back down as soon as it was determined that it was fake. And so you probably will get some sort of short-term movement just out of the excitement. But I do think that this anticipation is obviously driving the price up. It was 25,000, now it's 34,000. You're just eating into what was potential returns on the approval. Right. And so the question isn't so much what happens on day one. Right. Galaxy Digital just came out with a research report. They think $14 billion will go into the ETF in the first year. If that happens, what does that do to the price? Their expectation is that's going to drive the price 75% higher. And so that's just their estimation around the ETF. If that's true, that's a pretty big price move for an asset that's already hundreds of billions of dollars in market cap.
I like getting, for the people that are really in the cult. I mean, there's even names. So when is a halving almost sounds like an awakening or something. When is the next halving? It's coming, isn't it?
Yeah, less than a year away. I do feel sometimes like we're talking about things the same way that people talk about, when is your birthday? What is the
Did you know the halving was coming?
It's in April, by the way.
The halving is coming, Becky.
I've heard this, yes.
Andrew.
But I also understand where
prepare. I know.
Prepare for the
He just cuts her off. He's like, it's coming, Becky. And then he just continues to talk right through her response.
The halving is coming.
Like, shut up.
What on the leftovers?
What is the? And I love it. I'm kidding around about it. I think it's great. But
I truly believe that lady at this round table, she's like such a skeptic when it comes to Bitcoin and stuff. Like I feel like he hates talking to her every time he asks her about Bitcoin.
What's the stock to flow right now? What is the number? Do you know? Do you keep track of things?
There's 900 Bitcoin that are coming into circulation every single day. It'll cut down to 450. The reason why the halving is really important, in my opinion, is it ultimately disproves the efficient market hypothesis, right? If you think about, everyone knows that it's coming, but not everyone is going to act the same. Some people think it's buy the rumor, sell the news.
What's stock to flow? Is it cheaper than gold's stock to flow right now?
I don't know what gold's is, but Bitcoin has continued to become more and more attractive over time. And then again, 76% of all Bitcoin hasn't been sold in the last year. That's from $69,000 down to 15,000, back up to 34,000. When you start looking at these numbers, why are people not selling? They obviously have some sort of long-term belief in an asset. And so if you have a highly illiquid market, an ETF gets approved, tens of billions of dollars.
There are also some of the craziest people on Twitter, as you know.
There's a report yesterday that the Wall Street executives supposedly are shocked at how much interest there are in these products. And I think that what we're watching in some weird way is Wall Street is being introduced to the internet. But now this time, it's not the internet versus Wall Street, like we saw with the meme stocks. Instead, you're seeing Wall Street and the internet basically get on the same side of the table, and Wall Street's getting excited. They're saying, wait a second, these people are insane on the internet, and we're going to have an asset or a fund that they want that could be really interesting for us. And so maybe actually working together could be more
particularly at a
advantageous.
time when there aren't a lot of other fees on Wall Street.
Right. Correct.
Not IPOs, not M&A activity. So they're looking for a place.
And it's kind of cool. You could be anywhere really on the planet in a place where the currency is, who knows what it is in that country where you are. And if you have a phone, you can have something that's not going down with.
But would you use it? I mean,
use it for what?
I'd use it for a hotel
I'd use it if
room,
I was if I was unbanked. I'd use it.
Yeah, I guess. But
Elizabeth Warren in training right here. You use it to buy pizza, she says. Like, all right, lady, that was like 10 years ago. Get over it.
We make fun of the people who used it to pay for a pizza.
No, we make fun of the guy that spent, millions of dollars on a pizza. That's a totally different story. It's not just because he bought a pizza.
So is it an investment?
It's gotten back to 34,000.
It keeps going up. You're never going to want to spend it.
But it's gotten back to 34,000 without anyone arguing it's used as currency.
Yeah.
But
no one's arguing that anymore.
Yeah.
I do think it's a rational view to say the dollar is the greatest of all time at the moment in terms of medium of exchange, right? If you want to spend something, spend the dollar. Bitcoin has been the greatest of all time in terms of a store of value, right? And so people are buying it and they're holding it. Obviously, 76% of it sold in a year, and they're going to spend dollars. What the promise of Bitcoin is that it will become electronic cash. The dirty secret is if that never happens, I'm not saying that it is not going to happen, but if it never happens, Bitcoin is still going to be highly valuable just as a store of value. And so there's still a ton of upside. And I think that's why investors are excited.
All right. Pomp, I feel like we should have a disclosure for you because I
own Bitcoin.
So do I. But you're so rabid. People need to know how rabid you are in terms of Bitcoin, and just take that into account. That you could be totally wacko, right?
Maybe, but I say people lie, markets don't, and
you're right. No, all the things you say, if you look into it closely, it doesn't care what anyone says about it.
Yeah,
Bitcoin,
pretty unique.
Yeah, thanks, Anthony.
Pretty amazing. Shout out to Anthony Pomp for being awesome. If you guys aren't subscribed to him, go check him out. He's got 536,000 followers. Guys, hit that like button. Appreciate you for hanging out. All right, let's see what Altcoin Daily has to say, and then we'll wrap it up after this because, as you can see, got the little guy right here. All right, let's do it.
The question isn't so much what happens on day one. Galaxy Digital just came out with a research report. They think $14 billion will go into the ETF in the first year. If that happens, what does that do to the price?
How much will one Bitcoin be worth after BlackRock's ETF approval? Anthony Pompliano went on CNBC this morning to explain. And before we talk about what's next with Bitcoin's price, let's just be very clear on how the Bitcoin price got here.
Look, to understand really where Bitcoin is right now, you got to go back to 2018, 2019. Bitcoin had been up to 20,000 in the bull market. It drew all the way down to $3,000. What happened there, and Stanley Druckenmiller said it was the thing that convinced him to go buy Bitcoin, is that none of the Bitcoiners really sold. About 80% of the people who owned it at 20,000 still owned it at 3,000.
56% long term right now. So there's no supply for it either.
It's highly liquid. 76% hasn't been sold in the last year. 56% hasn't been sold in the last 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
And really what we saw, what drove Bitcoin's price from that $3,000 bottom to $69,000, 23x in about 3 years, is that there was a supply and a demand shock. And we had printing of money, low interest rates, and we also got the halving. We look like we're headed right back to that. Right now, we do have high interest rates, and they're trying not to print money. But we have a $33.5 trillion debt. They're trying to fund 2 proxy wars. We have the southern border issue. We've got all sorts of inflation they're still trying to combat. And so what's likely to happen here is that they're going to have to return to loose monetary policy. When they do that, it is likely to coincide with the Bitcoin halving.
So Pomp backs up what we discussed in our interview yesterday, that long-term holders aren't selling.
And that's a...
How do you guys feel about this guy, Crypto? He's all right. He's a good trader and stuff, but damn. His excitement just kind of throws me off the edge.
The mind-blowing thing to see. Long-term holders are at an all-time high, showing that they are more, and it's still an uptrend, more confident than they have ever been before in history of Bitcoin. And the short-term holders are at an all-time low.
And as we stand today, Bitcoin soars as BlackRock moves closer to launching their spot Bitcoin ETF.
I personally just think it's his thumbnails that bother me. It's the biggest open mouth O-face you can do. But yeah, he is usually on point when it comes to trading, which is kind of impressive.
iShares Bitcoin Trust, i.e. the BlackRock Bitcoin Trust, has been listed on the DTCC, Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation, which clears NASDAQ trades. And the ticker will be IBTC, all part of the process to bringing an ETF to market.
One of the things people have to remember is the best investors in the world act completely differently than the herd. And so right now the herd is saying we're risk off. Every great investor I know is going risk on. They're buying these assets at suppressed prices because they know what's going to happen. We're going to return to loose monetary policy and prices are going to go back up.
Are we though? Higher for longer, higher for longer, higher for longer.
You eventually run into math, and ultimately you have a $33.5 trillion debt. You added $500 billion in the last month. We're sending hundreds of billions of dollars around for these proxy wars. If you're going to continue to raise the national debt, you're going to have to inflate it away. And so loose monetary policy is going to be the standard over the coming.
So understanding where we are today, how much now will one Bitcoin be worth? Best guess. And keep in mind, anything is possible with cryptocurrency. Never invest more than you are willing to lose. But long term, even Alexis Ohanian, co-founder of Reddit, admits that the growth of this asset is undeniable.
Bitcoin has never felt really all that different from gold. If you explained to me that gold was a really important part of human culture, I'd understand it. As an Armenian, I know, I for whatever reason just love gold. We have a cultural affinity for this shiny piece of metal, the shiny rock, and it's been built over years and years and years. And there are plenty of investors who won't touch it because they feel like it's not a great asset. But there's a whole heck of a lot of people who have a strong cultural affinity for it. And I think Bitcoin is in a similar camp. Maybe it's a different generation. Maybe it's more sort of technology-oriented folks. But at the end of the day, I'm investing in asteroid mining companies. And one thing I'm certain of is we're never going to find a bunch of new Bitcoin on an asteroid. There's a bunch of pressure.
That's such a good point. I'm investing in asteroid mining companies, and there's one thing I know for a fact is that Bitcoin will never be found on an asteroid. He's not wrong. Could find some of this shiny gold stuff, right? But like when it comes to Bitcoin, not gonna find that.
Metals we will end up finding. But at the end of the day, it's a kind of asset that requires a sort of conviction in it as a store of value. And for a whole heck of a lot of people, there has been, at least as of yesterday, another flight to it. But look, I invest with the long-term horizon. That's one of the nice things about this job is I don't have to worry about markets day to day or hour to hour. I make every investment with at least a 10-year time horizon.
So how much are...
That's a good way to look at things too. You shouldn't be like really focused on the whole day trading aspect of Bitcoin. You want to look at long-term over time, investing, not just quick gains.
Experts speculating that one Bitcoin could be worth directly after the approval. Well, honestly, it all depends on how much money flows into the ETFs. If no money flows into these ETFs, then obviously nothing will change. But on the other hand, all these companies are going to have their sales forces now selling.
You're going to have Invesco's sales force, BlackRock sales force, Cathie Wood's sales force, Fidelity sales force, all out selling Bitcoin.
Bitcoin could rise, per the analysis of Matrixport, could rise to between 42,000 and 56,000 if the ETF is approved. And this prediction is based on the potential inflows of as much as 24 billion. And finally, Pompliano answers the question, how much will one Bitcoin be worth?
Go back to this idea of, and we've talked about it on the broadcast a lot, this sort of buy the rumor, sell the news situation, which is if in fact this ETF exists, there's a big announcement, is that a great day for Bitcoin, or is that baked into the price and you needed to have gotten there beforehand and actually goes down afterwards?
I think this is a great point. The halvings historically have been this like buy the rumor, sell the news events. The ETF probably is going to be something like that, where if you saw this fake news, I guess it was, where the ETF got approved, but it really wasn't approved. Right. Basically, price went up thousands of dollars in a few minutes, then drew right back down as soon as it was determined that it was fake. And so you probably will get some sort of short-term movement just out of the excitement. But I do think that this anticipation is obviously driving the price up. It was 25,000, now it's 34,000. You're just eating into what was potential returns on the approval. Right. And so the question isn't so much what happens on day one. Right. Galaxy Digital just came out with a research report. They think $14 billion will go into the ETF in the first year. If that,
$14 billion, that is a shit ton.
That happens, what does that do to the price? Their expectation is that's going to drive the price 75% higher. And so,
75% higher.
So that's just their estimation around the ETF. If that's true, that's a pretty big price move for an asset that's already hundreds of billions of dollars in market cap.
If you're interested in learning more and making money in cryptocurrency, click subscribe. You do not want to miss a daily video. And by the way, breaking news, Sam Bankman-Fried will testify. He will take the stand at his criminal trial as soon as Thursday, which will be his direct attempt to appeal to the jurors in his bid to prove that he did not commit or conspire to commit fraud. Also just announced, crypto lender BlockFi ends bankruptcy with a plan to repay customers. So another way to say this is that BlockFi has emerged from bankruptcy. Emergence is when a firm that previously entered bankruptcy successfully reorganizes its balance sheet so that it's ready to repay its creditors. And who can withdraw today? While the company's custodial wallet customers can submit a withdrawal request today, BlockFi's BIA interest-bearing account and loan customers aren't expected to receive initial distributions until early 2024. And in altcoin news, Polygon has launched its POL token contract on Ethereum to eventually replace Matic. So we know that the ticker symbol for Polygon, Matic, is going away. It's switching to POL. And as described by them, POL...
I've never understood that fully, actually, why Polygon's ticker was Matic. I don't understand it. Now it's going to POL? What? Like what?
Is the next generation token that can power a vast ecosystem of ZK-based L2 chains. It does that via a native restaking protocol that allows POL holders to validate multiple chains and perform multiple roles on each of those chains, turning POL into a hyper-productive token. So that explains the reasoning for the upgrade, the switch. Like always, see you tomorrow.
Like always, see you tomorrow. Oh, what'd you guys think of that? You like this mug? Favorite. Sorry, light kind of sucks, but... Alright, let's see. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. That's it. That's all we're doing today. That's all we got. That's all we got. What do you guys got? You guys got any questions? As you can see, the kids losing it behind me. My son spilled cereal all over my couch back there, just so you guys know. Give you a little smile. I have to go vacuum that up now. Life cereal is crushed all in between the cushions. Perfect. Can't wait. So excited. Anyways, yeah, man, 75% gains on Bitcoin. That would be unreal. Absolutely unreal. That mug is missing the middle finger on the bottom. Yeah. Yeah, actually, you know what's funny? My sister sold a bunch of stuff on like Etsy, and she would draw or paint the middle finger here. What's up, kiddo? Your hair is a mess. There's a mess. Looking at herself on the camera. Doesn't understand why. People looking at you right now. Creep. Anyways. All right, let's see. Fully Electric said, let me see. He said, I manage my own portfolio, so I have to look for signs both for upside and downside. And I swap to stablecoin when I see signs of downside and buy back in on the lows. This allows for continuous gains. That's pretty awesome, dude. Yeah, I mean, that's great. If you have the confidence to be able to trade and sell, and oh my god, what are we listening to? If you have the confidence to trade and sell, swap into USDC and things like that, like that is probably one of the best things that you can do, to be honest. It's just, it's hard when I guess, you know, like the whole tax thing, right? That's the thing that really stops me from doing a lot of trading back and forth, and why I ride it down a lot of the times, and I know I shouldn't, but it's like, I don't know. It's transactions, man. You're just gonna get whacked from the government, and I live in Massachusetts, so it's probably not as easy on me as it is elsewhere, which is kind of tough. You need a Gary mug. Yes, I'll have to make one for sure. Have to make one for sure. End it with the Elmo. Dude, that Elmo video got me so unhinged yesterday. I was laughing for like a half an hour after the stream. That was like the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. It was so good. So good. I can't play that again, though. I don't want to get whacked. I'm pretty sure I had to do the profit sharing because I played that video because of the music. CCXD, the tax in New York is only when you sell to fiat. Until then, nothing. What? I'm moving to New York. What do you mean? Is that for real? Tax in New York is only when you sell to fiat. Until then, nothing. What? Dude, what? I'm so confused. I thought we had to do... That's crazy. That's crazy. That blows my mind, actually. Because I'm pretty positive the way it works here, right? Like, I mean, I do Coinly, so like I put all my wallet info and all that bullshit in there, but no matter what happens, like any type of transactions, like you're paying gains on the money coming in and going out, like everywhere. You're getting taxed on everything. Like I'm just getting whacked everywhere. It's not dude, your hair is a mess. It's not that simple, but that's crazy, man. In New York, that's amazing. I don't think that's true. Yeah, I don't think that's true either, to be honest. Fully electric. But I won't put you out on here. I'm not gonna put you in that bucket right now. Anyways, I doubt it. In New York, it's awful. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, see, like I have to put everything into Coinly, so Coinly.io is the place that I use. There's a couple other ones like CoinTracker and stuff. I'm not affiliated with any of these places, but it makes taxes super easy at the end of the year, where I can you just input your wallets and it does like all the calculations and all the bullshit for you, and then you're like, oh goddamn, I gotta pay all this money at the end of the year. Sucks ass. But yeah, if you don't do the right thing every year, what you're supposed to do, and you go to cash it out, you do have to then pay capital gains on everything. But if you hold it for over a year and you've paid taxes on it, then you don't get capital gains. That's as far as I know, but I'm not a tax guy. Ask your tax guy. I'm not that dude. All right, these kids are starting to lose it, guys. Have a good day. I appreciate you all for hanging out. I'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning, 8:15 or so Eastern Standard Time. And until then, have a good day. And I appreciate you guys watching The Daily Grind. Peace out. See you guys later. Go check out the store up in the pinned comment. Later.